Well, hello. Welcome to an upgrade in the workplace, business, entrepreneurship, relationships and lifestyle
Wow, that's a lot to pack in.
with Mrs. Jill Eckersley.
And Mr. Terry Eckersley. Good
evening. Trish, you're having a great day. If you're in the UK, it's rainy, which is normal.
A wee bit of rain today, literally.
Which is good for the ducks.
Definitely.
And the plants. And we're going to talk today or tonight or wherever you're watching this from or whenever about what I've said about business, work, important things in business and the workplace and kingdom things. We've got the mighty Beth Creswell on. Hi Beth, missing you, trust you well. I see you booked in for the Ukraine event. Be good to see you there. So we might as well talk about that. There's going to be a live band on, food, drinks, fun, games. It's going to be amazing, and we're going to do giveaways. We're going to do phone card giveaways, food hampers, and we're going to be rolling out the launch of our support to the Ukrainian community in and around Matlock. But it's called Integrate, so you can be from the UK, the Ukraine, from wherever. It'd be good to see you there. So just search Eventbrite, make sure you book in. It's going to be a great event, isn't it, Jill?
It will. I think it'd be a good fun evening, and it'd be amazing to meet some, new, different people, and obviously people that are trying to connect into community after having to leave, in much, challenging circumstances, to say the least, from the Ukraine. So, yeah, we certainly want to welcome them and, have a great night to meet them as well.
It's going to be great. And come on, get an upgrade in your life, in your spiritual life. Tomorrow, 10 a.m, breakfast, and then 11 a.m, worship, word and wonders. Church with a difference, River Network Church. Tomorrow at Starcombs Hall. That's going to be great, isn't it, Jill?
It will be excellent.
We're in the middle of a powerful series, aren't we, about upgrading your life?
Definitely, definitely. And we can all find it. You might think, oh, well, everything's fine in my life. Well, we all go through seasons where things are not fine. And it's good to lay good foundations so that when those times come, that we're ready for them, because it's not like, oh, well, that's not going to happen to me. Well, we all face challenging times, don't we? And challenging circumstances, situations. But different people face them differently because they've got different foundations in their life. So it's always good to be consistent and put good things in, because if we put good things into our lives, it's going to be good things coming out, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's computer language. Good in, good out. Junk in, junk out. So yeah, and the whole purpose of getting an upgrade is life or mindset or finances or whatever. Then you're able to help other people.
Yeah.
We're blessed to be a blessing.
Definitely.
So if we're upgraded with a blessing, we can bless others. We can always do that. John 10:10, Jesus came that we might have life and have it more abundantly. So that's not just abundant, that's more than abundant. And that's what God's got for our life and your life. Big things when we do things His way. And the key text we've been looking at is, as we behold Him, Jesus, or behold Him in the Bible, the Word of God, then our lives are transformed from one level of glory to the next. From the inside out, really. And as you get that revelation in your mind and on the inside of you, that'll start to manifest on the outside.
Very good.
That's what we're talking about. But this broadcast, as we promised, Jill's going to interview me about things I've done for a living in a chronological order. What was my first job and how I've progressed, and what are the important things in work that I can comment on. And I'm just going to roll it over to Jill to interview me now. I'm going to be a good boy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, it might be interesting just to take it back a smidgen, because
take it back as far as you want.
In terms of career, because, for myself, I left school, went to college and went into employment. But what happened, it'd be good to share what happened to you, Terry, in regards to school, that sort of last part of the, what I would call comprehensive years.
Yeah.
And then what happened from that point before you started going into the workplace. because it perhaps is a little bit different journey to maybe some other people would have had.
Well, we've all got different journeys, haven't we?
Well, what I'm meaning is, some people choose their options, go to college, university, bang, bang, bang. And you're right, other people have a different journey, so I think it'd be good to share yours.
Okay, well, I left school with no qualifications when I was 16. And I remember going to the job centre and them interviewing you, what you like, trying to pull out your skills or whatever. And they said to me, right, you can be a labourer, you know what I mean?
Great.
That was it. Which is probably that was the option. So I remember my mum getting the local newspaper, throwing it at me and saying there's a job in here, and it was for a window cleaner. So I walked to the telephone box at the top of the street and called. And anyway, I got the job. I got the job. And it was interesting. I can't remember now, but I worked for 2 window cleaners. And the first ones I worked for, that was the first 2 guys I worked for. And all these new property was being built in and around near Warrington, Birchwood, near Risley actually, and around that area. And so there was a window cleaning round that we did, the 3 of us. I was like the apprentice, And then if I worked Saturday mornings, I could keep all that money myself.
Well, that's good.
Which was good. And then we wouldn't just clean the windows, we'd go and knock and canvass new houses and new businesses. So I helped really build the business, as you can imagine. And looking back, it's interesting that things you do, nothing's ever wasted. So I got used to talking to people on doorsteps and really selling the business and growing the business. And I was also, I've told you about this, I had a good work ethic and I was very fast. So what I did, I'd put my ladder in between 2 top windows and I'd throw it over with 1 foot, clean it, then I'd throw it over with the other one and clean that one. So I'd only have to go up once and down once rather than up and down twice or 3 times. So I was fast. I was faster than Colin Davis.
Did he do it as well?
No, that's a joke. We've got a friend who says, I charge this for doing such a thing, but I'm good because I'm twice as fast as anybody else. Come on. I'm 10 times as fast as anybody else. You can't. Anyway, there you go. It's just funny. I thought that was funny with Colin Davis.
So they didn't do health and safety at work videos then at the window cleaners, did they?
I don't think you had health and safety.
Putting ladders.
I don't think you had health and safety in those days, Jill. But it was good fun. But then, interestingly, the punk revolution came about. So, I was like 16, 17, 18. So I did it for a couple of years. And, we'd go out, Saturday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night with my friends who were the same age as me or a year older. But then what happened was, you're going to have to be careful with that because when you're making noises,
I'm trying to keep it,
and it's distracting.
Trying to keep it still.
Yeah, you don't do that when you're interviewing people, just to let you know. You don't drink while you're interviewing people and hold bottles in your hand and crunch them. Puts people off, Jill. And you've got to stop and start all over again, you see. It's like when you're public speaking.
Thursday, Friday and Saturday nights. So
Yes.
you'll be going out with your friends.
Yeah, put that down.
Stop
for you, fidgeting. What are you doing with that top now?
Well, I'm going to put that down as well,
Dear
so you
Lord
can completely
Jesus,
focus now,
help
Terry.
me. Dear Lord Jesus, help me. See, nothing like it. She'll be doing her nails next and her hair. Eating crisps.
That's an idea. I can get a packet for you.
You would do. And then the punk revolution came about. And, that was a lot more partying. And the punk lifestyle, what punk really promoted. So, needless to say, I might not go in on the odd Saturday. I ended up just packing it in and becoming like a full-time punk rocker. So I did that then. Then I got in a bit of trouble. We're talking about career here, and workplace. And then when I'd been put in a young offenders place for some trouble and I came out, I then went and did one of these youth training schemes.
YTS.
YTS. I think that was for 12 months. I think it was £23.50 a week or something. And what I did there was they put me in the workshop where, because I said art, I liked art and stuff like that. So I was very good at art at school and English, language and literature. And so I went in this workshop and I did stuff like French polishing or refurbishing furniture.
Right.
Fixing furniture, doing all stuff like that. And sign writing. So I did French polishing, sign writing, I did all stuff like that. And I did a week or half a day's day release to an art college.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So there's some skills here, Terry. Window cleaning, sign writing, French polishing, furniture.
Exactly.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Art college. However, I was still, drinking, drugs, getting in trouble. It calmed us down a bit, actually, because you've got the stability of having a regular workplace. And it was okay. But then I got in more trouble and more youth places to stay. I'm not going into that because we're talking about employment and business and entrepreneurship. And then the next real jobs I had, it's interesting again. I got a job selling windows. I got a job selling windows, going door to door. And then very quickly, I got pulled in the office and he said to me, I never forget the chief exec said, who was an ex-copper and obviously knew of me. And I think he liked the fact that he was employing me. He was an ex-copper who'd done time for perjury.
Oh, wow.
He got sent to prison for perjury, came out and started this window company, not cleaning, but selling, fitting and installing with another guy. And so he called me in the office one day and he said, you don't need to look worried. He said, would you like promotion? Would you like more money? I said, oh, yes, please. So because I didn't have a license at the time, I got given a car and a driver.
Very good.
Car and a driver and a team. So we'd go to places in Manchester, Warrington, Liverpool, and I'd get the team out canvassing, And again, I was very good at that. I became the best. To a lot of people's, they didn't like it because I was new. So I got promoted to a car. The car was doing the most business. So I was a good salesman. And again, interestingly, look, I'm knocking on doors and I'm talking to people. I'm learning to talk to people. So communication and listening and rapport building is working. And team leading, I had a team. It was very funny. I'll tell you a funny story. So I was a team leader. So I'm sat in the front seat. I've got a driver and I've got 3 in the back. So there's 4 people working for me. I'm the team leader. Anyway, on the first or second day, this guy gets in the front seat.
Oh.
I said, can you get out? He said, no. So anyway, I had to put some manners on him. Not physically, but I told him in no uncertain terms, if he didn't get out that front seat,
he wouldn't be coming again.
He might be kissing concrete.
Oh,
no, that's
okay.
That's not a girl's name. See-concrete. So anyway, he was trying to give it the lodge. So anyway, he got out and then, I was in the front seat leading the team. That was my negotiating skills in those days.
Somebody pushing boundaries.
But then interestingly enough, what I did was I ended up going to Blackpool in the car one weekend and not turning up for work. Needless to say, you're fired. I wasn't very disciplined in those days. So then another thing what I did, which was interesting, was when I went to the Canary Islands with Sean Parry, I was, they called it bar repping, and it's basically getting people in bars or restaurants. So I did that, and again, this bar had nobody going in it, obscure bar, and I got the job. And of course, if you don't get people in, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
So I came up with a lot of creative, innovative ways of packing the place, like talking to people, picking somebody up, putting them on my shoulder, carrying them in. Then all the rest would have to come in. So it's like 10 or 20 on a hen or, ladies week, week away.
Yeah.
I'd pack the bar out and I'd do it again. It's very creative and very good. So I made loads of money doing that. I had rolls of money doing that. But again, learning rapport, learning to talk to people. We went out there with no money, nowhere to stay, just our flights.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then I also, it was around that time where I went to Newquay with Rami, who Rami used to sell windows with me. Same. And I got a job on a building site there, which was great at first because I was just mowing lawns on this big estate. Shorts on, sunshine, mowing lawns, great. And then I went labouring for one of the bosses building a bungalow on the coast. So I did some labouring. I've never been scared of hard work, graft, getting stuck in. So that's what I did there. That was all BC, before Christ, before I really committed my life to Christ.
Absolutely. So what changed? Because obviously you said about, you've done a number of sort of physical jobs there, but also people-oriented, selling. And then obviously a time came where you weren't working because you were somewhere else. But then when that moved on, speak a bit about after that, what kind of things, when you did become a Christian, Terry, and what made the change in your life as to the direction that you went after making that decision?
Well, I really knew God loved me and God had forgiven me, and I couldn't do things that I'd done before because I felt convicted or guilty, but I didn't know to go the right way. So when I joined a local church, and then I got really healed of drug abuse and the mental scars that caused me, I then started doing voluntary work and doing courses, doing like lightweight academia. But that's good. Courses are good because it builds your CV, builds your experience, credibility, and then doing voluntary work builds you into teams and relationally. And those two things are great. That's why I always encourage them. And so, and then I was praying and looking for a job. And I thought, I'm not going to go the easy route because it would be very easy to get a job in sales.
Yeah.
But I thought, I really want to believe God for a job and do something that helps people. So I prayed again, and a job was created, which I applied for at Sheffield YMCA, and that was security with a difference because there was a whole remit. It was like security and events. Strange combination, but it fitted me really well. And so then again, I had to learn to communicate with people at another level in teams with leadership. So I was like, it was interesting because where I sat in the management structure, I reported directly to the company secretary who ran the organisation with the chief exec. They were co-leaders really. And so that put me at the top of the management structure really. Think about it. So I communicate with other managers. I did events, as you know, and recruited people and built teams and did events. And then I'd look after the security, all the finance in the organisation, put that in the safe, look after all the staff, do all that. It was great. And so I learned a lot there. And then I continued to keep educating myself. Did a postgraduate certificate in management studies and did a professional diploma in housing. I went from part-time to full-time, then got moved into a middle management role, housing management. And so that was really, where I started to grow and flourish and learn a lot about working with people and working within structure.
Yeah, that's good. Very important. It's interesting because obviously right at the beginning, Terry, you said you left school with no qualifications, and that could be somebody that's watching today that they think, well, no, I didn't really exceed at that time. And some people don't. It's a little bit later. It's very different. Like Terry said, for everybody's journey is different. But it's interesting, isn't it, as you were in your 30s, going into that kind of training and development. How did you find that, Terry? Was it something you found quite easy at that point, or was it a stretch? Did you have to sort of think, okay?
No, I found it easy, really, because people always said I was smart. My mum always said I was too good for my own good, and teachers probably thought that. But I think when you go into things maturely and you want to learn, it's like, you know, when the student wants to learn, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
And it's like that in life. I always say that when you do want to learn, a teacher will appear, or a mentor, or somebody to help you along the way. And I think, no, because I was very hungry. I was very hungry and I was very focused. Hunger, focused. I mean, focused, totally. Because as well as what I was doing, I was studying academically. You know, I travelled to London for 4 study days. I was working 6 days a week. And then I was doing Bible school every morning, 5 days a week. So I'd do Bible school. So you're getting up in the morning, going to Bible school, you know, breakfast, Bible school. Then after Bible school, I'd have a lie down in the church, a rest. And I'd go into work, go and do some weightlifting, bodybuilding, have a shower, get changed, boom, I'm on shift at 4 o'clock. And that was my day, Monday to Friday, and then all day Saturday. So I think what I learned, and I had to learn, and people have got to learn, the importance of commitment, discipline, focused, resting in between. As things moved on a bit, I didn't really get too good at resting in between, but I've learned that now the hard way, because if you don't, you'll burn out. So yeah, that was my start there.
So you really made good use of the time that you might think, oh, okay, you were probably got into education and development when you were in your 30s. Some people might have done that earlier or even later. But it's interesting, isn't it, how that happened for you. And I know I've heard you say this before, is that time wasn't wasted because it got used. All the skills that perhaps people would have said, oh, that wasn't really the best time of my life. But the things that you did learn, they sort of got turned around for good.
Yeah, they got redeemed. That's the word, which means they get bought back. And when you become a Christian, nothing's wasted, past or present, past, good, bad and ugly, because it gets redeemed. The Bible says all things work out together for good to those who love God are called according to his purpose. So it all works out together for good. And I've never felt a sense of regret about like, oh, you've wasted 28 years of your life. When I didn't, because again, the Bible says at the right time, Christ died for us. So when my salvation came, you know, we didn't choose him, he chose us, that it was at the right time, and therefore all the good, the bad and the ugly got redeemed and worked out together for good and made me the person I am today. So I can, you know, it's just who I am. And I have empathy and I can connect with people. And I'm not just, I heard this listening to something recently in a trial actually that I'm watching. I like watching trials. That Alex Murdoch was book smart, but he wasn't street smart. Now I'm book smart and I'm street smart. So I can spot things and people a mile off. And so, yeah, it all worked out together for good.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. And you're right. I think, you know, where some people could be great academically, they've no life skills or life experiences to bring to the table. So you're right. People can have a space in their life actually where they have got a deficit, that they're not able to work with certain people or in certain places. And I would say that's probably one of your biggest strengths, Terry, is that you can speak to anybody, whether it's from the person who's struggling, they're trying to get on in life, or they've had a tough break, they've made some wrong choices, but also you can speak to people that are a CEO or a celebrity or somebody that people would deem, oh, I can't speak to that person. Actually, you're really good at speaking to all types of people and all backgrounds. And interesting that you said that you worked really hard, studied hard, but but also, I think it'd be good to share, is there any times where you've perhaps worked a little bit too hard?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I did say that as I got older then, and I got into the development mode, and I had vision for my life and ambition. So then, yeah, I didn't rest as much as I should have. And it's an interesting thing because in self development, personal development, or leadership, there's not much taught or talked about rest. You know, we know boundaries, and we've learned a lot about boundaries. I've written a book on it, and we exercise that. But part of good boundary living is by setting boundaries for yourself to rest. And you're like that as well, really. So we've both got to turn our phones off on Mondays, Tuesdays, even Wednesdays. We turn them on in the evening, but we have clear breaks. And I think in 21st century living, if anything that people need is to learn to rest as well. And of course, and this is not making excuses, but I was single and hyper-focused. So then, like, where'd you go on holiday? When do you have holiday? So I'd do busman's holidays. Then I'd do a busman's holiday looking after my friend's hotel, B&B, Thai restaurant and music bar. And then I'd be also, and I'd be doing lots of public speaking. And any opportunities that had come up, I'd grab them and seize them. So, yes. So, you know, and it's interesting because my weak spots are around my neck and shoulders. That's where I feel it. And you go even seeing, you know, get a massage and speak to a physio, and they say, oh, it's your posture and this and the other. And it is posture, but it's more, do you rest? If anybody had asked me that question, what do you do to rest? And of course, being involved in church as well, church leadership. So then you're there on a Sunday as well.
Or more.
You know, so yeah, you've got to be very careful. I've learned a lot about learning to rest, and thank God I've learned it now.
Yeah.
Especially as you're getting older. But again, you know, it all works out together for good, for God's glory and your good, that you can get a lot accomplished and do a lot. I would have rather been on the front foot than on the back foot.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I've learned, and I'm learning the power of rest.
Yeah.
And having time off and holidays.
That's good. Absolutely, yeah. It's not always an easy thing, is it? That, and I think it's something we're still learning, is to plan things in and schedule them. You know, you can't sort of blame the person who's doing your schedule, because often it's you.
It's me.
It's you.
But we're getting better. We've just booked holidays for next year.
We have, and we've done that purposefully, because if we don't, the only person you can turn the finger around is on yourself. Why haven't you made that plan? And it's all right to sort of encourage others, isn't it? And do all of that, but we can't pour from an empty cup, I've heard people say. And if you're not careful, you stop enjoying life. It becomes, you know, the next thing to the next thing. So enjoying life is really important. We only get one go. And but the great thing is we can make changes, and we can put those things in, can't we? And we are responsible for that.
We can, and I think having joy and enjoying what you're doing is paramount. Because if you enjoy what you're doing, you never do a day's work in your life. Somebody once said, and it's true. And you can live a life and have a work-life balance where you actually really enjoy your work. And I've always seen my work as in the call of God. I always saw myself as an evangelist in the marketplace, and building, pioneering organisations. I always did it in the call of God. That's what I always did. I always saw that, and I always saw myself planted in the church, and everything I did in the community or in the marketplace was from that position. So that's been very, very good. And of course, then after Sheffield, I got that closed down, and I got promoted, headhunted, whatever, but I knew the Lord was calling me there to Southampton. And then I took over an organisation. Well, I went there as a deputy, as housing manager / deputy chief exec. And then because the housing manager was leaving when the chief exec was on holiday. And so I got headhunted quickly, which was great because my job at the Sheffield YMCA was closing. And then when the chief exec came back, here's your new housing manager. You know what I mean? She didn't even have anything to do with the recruitment. And anyway, then I think after about a year or so, she moved on, resigned. So I became the acting chief exec, which was pretty awesome, really. I mean, I went to becoming a chief exec in an organisation, serving from a volunteer and getting trained, working my way. I had 1, 2, my third job was housing manager, fourth was like acting chief exec.
Wow.
Within, I think maybe about 9 years, which is pretty good going for anybody. But when you think about my history and my past, that was a big deal.
Absolutely.
And I took over a failing organisation that wasn't doing well. And I helped really turn it around by the grace of God and built a big team. I had 2 members of staff when I started. I had a part-time housing worker and a facilities manager. And then we got some more funding in, and I ended up with about 5, 6, 7 members of staff.
That's good.
And building a music organisation on the side. And starting to write my book. And doing a BBC radio thought for the day. I was doing a few things.
You were you, Terry?
And that was great. So I really enjoyed that. And I just really had power in my life, and I had a heart to build things, and I became very successful, as you know. Uber successful. Everything I was putting my hand to was prospering, wasn't it?
It was, absolutely, yeah.
And it shocked a lot of people, really.
Yes, I think if I look back and see some of those things, that I think especially what can sometimes happen is people can see you at one stage in your life and don't really see what God sees over you, or even yourself, you know, as you've got a vision for things that are happening. And then when they see you again, it's almost like people were totally blown away, because the Lord really did sort of lift you up, and the opportunities that came you seized, and it was completely different. Some of the things that you were doing, I think some people, they just remembered you. Obviously you did well where you were, but you moved into other things.
YMCA, they didn't see me in media and music and prospering and becoming very successful.
Absolutely.
And I think those things, what I did, I just had a vision for it. I obviously prayed into it, and I knocked on doors. And I did the best I could with the hand I'd got. And that's excellence.
Yeah.
And we started writing music in home studios, which didn't really exist then. And we pioneered that and started writing some great music. And then landed ITV's second biggest selling TV show then. And the music went all over the world very quickly. And I had to recruit team, writers. I was meeting people in ITV, BBC, media, and it was amazing. The best thing for me was driving into London in my BMW Z3, which I bought after I sold a house that I'd been renting out in Brinsworth. And I'm driving from Woking, Surrey, into London, like the flyovers, and these massive poster flyers, and it's got Animal Planet, Monkey Business, the TV show, and my music was on that show.
Yeah.
And I did a very significant role in it. Then when I drove up north, all the Sky vans had Monkey Business on the vans. So that was just very, very cool. It was great. But more than that, you know, we were making money, making music, creativity. And I think you're learning. I mean, I marketed it and as the best I could. But now, if that happened to me now, Lord have mercy. You know, I didn't do any press releases. I remember I wanted to, our offices that we got. So I got separate offices. I'm also leading a YMCA. We've got separate media offices. And I wanted to abseil off the building in gorilla suits. Because I'd seen Branton and stuff that he did around stuff like that. And I thought, I'll do that. The other guys wouldn't do it. Otherwise, I would have done that. So... You know, somebody said, have you, people always said to me, have you studied marketing? And, you know, Terry, I said, no, I haven't studied marketing, but I've done marketing, and we do marketing now. And of course, you know, with social media now and press releases and associations and sort of co-branding and credibility and building that and instilling that. I've learned a lot about that, and still am learning. So that was a good times. Yeah. Do you want to ask me some questions about Southampton? Because you're interviewing me.
I was just thinking
You're allowed
whether
to
you
drink
wanted
now.
to.
You
Oh,
can
right,
drink.
let's have a drink of water.
You just can't hold it in your hand and crinkle it.
Thanks, Terry. That's been helpful.
I was also BBC trained about this kind of thing with Jamie Lee Grace from the Steve Wright Show and others, and it was the Sainsbury's Foundation who paid for it, and I did some media training.
Do you think we should maybe take a pause and then, because there's quite a bit to say after that, to maybe do it as a second?
We could do that from Surrey onwards.
I think that would be good.
So we've gone from Leigh, Leigh, to Sheffield.
Yeah, to Southampton.
To Southampton. Well,
and then there's more to come after that.
Do you want to ask some questions around Southampton? Then we can wrap it up. Then we can start Surrey next time.
Okay. I'm trying to think of something to ask you about Southampton.
What did you learn? What was good? What was bad? What was ugly? They're always good questions for interviewing people. I just think.
So let's go with that one then.
Pause for thought.
What was the best parts of the Southampton, and perhaps what were the things that were the, when we talk about the from glory to glory, there's sometimes a gory.
A gory.
Were there some glories and some gories? Well,
I think the highlights were obviously what I've spoken. That comes out of you. So I loved meeting Mark Hill, the Artful Dodger, did all the Craig David stuff, and all that camp and team of media people. And actually, I started putting on media nights, can you believe it, at the De Vere Hotel and inviting people. And I wanted to brand Southampton Music City UK. So it was interesting. I was also doing, as part of the executive development program at the YMCA, I was doing that, where we'd have regular away days, training days, if you like, and there was somebody there coaching, mentoring us. And all I was talking about was all the music and the media.
Yeah.
But because the YMCA was running itself, I'd got leadership in place, I'd got team, I met with my leaders, I checked on the work, made sure they were doing what they were meant to do, cast vision, led that team. And I was doing that with that hand, or a finger on that hand, doing it well and easy, which in leadership you can do. Even with challenging, people groups, we had a housing project, which some people could have called a homeless project, not as many beds as Sheffield. So I was doing that with ease and grace, but I was very excited about the new media stuff. So that was all very good. And I lived in a small apartment. Dr. Nick was a little concerned for me at some stage, he said, I think. But I loved it because I was on like the most trendy street in Southampton.
Yeah.
It's where all the celebs hung out, and there was nice restaurants and stuff, and I lived in an apartment above. So I loved that. I loved being by the coast, by the sea, smell that sea breeze. I loved all that. I think the challenging things were obviously relational breakdowns or conflicts, where I had a couple of those, personal then in the workplace, and came under real bad attack. And then when I went for mediation, the guy admitted that it was because he was jealous of me and tried to take me to task through HR. It got overturned, and then he was going to resign. And compassionate. He said, my position's untenable. I said, you don't need to resign. It's fine, Mum. It's fine. You can stay. But then shortly after that, boom, the door opened. Sorry, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that next time. So I think, the gories are generally relationship breakdowns or conflict. For me, that's where it's been. And that's where you can choose to forgive, die to self, obviously relationally work that through, or relationally don't work it through. Like, enough's enough, no thank you. And you can extricate yourself from relationships where people are being cruel, unkind, or just not being nice. And I think and I thought about this the other day, the amount of dying to self I did because I had a conflict relationship in a local church. But that didn't stop me going to local church. The person was still in the local church, and every time I went, I had to forgive them and worship the Lord. I didn't have to, but I did. So that was dying to self.
Yeah.
That's really dying to self, because you could think, oh, I'll leave church, I'll go another church. But I knew that was a good church to be in with Andy Elms.
Yeah.
And he'd been an evangelist. He was now a pastor, and he was a functioning evangelist on another level than I was. So that was good to be there with Andy and the team. And I got lots of opportunity there, really. I led and built an alpha team, alpha course. So I was leading alpha. I raised up. He just let me get on with it.
Yeah.
So I built a team for alpha, led an alpha there. I was doing the YMCA stuff, and I was doing the media stuff.
Very good. Praise God. It's good, isn't it? Yeah.
And I was a member of a gym and working out, but lightly. I was swimming more. Swimming's good for me. Swimming and jacuzziing.
Very good. Well, it's good. It's relaxing, isn't it? It's something that you enjoy.
I did that today.
It's important, isn't it, to keep that, life isn't always in balance all the time. And I think sometimes you have to be okay with that. Sometimes there's times where is a lot of, for want of a better word, busyness or fruitfulness. And then there's other times where it could be a downtime. But again, it's up to us, isn't it, to look at our lives and make good decisions, hopefully.
Good.
And learn from the bad ones.
Yes, well, I trust you've been blessed and encouraged by what I've shared. If you want to talk about anything, DM us, message us, or come. Come tomorrow morning. The Church Alive is worth the drive. I learned, and I've done up to MBA level. I didn't finish my MBA. I did 2 years, Certificate in Management Studies, postgraduate diploma. They're on the walls here, up there. Done a lot more. And I did about half a year of the final year of the MBA. But I learned more in the local church through the preaching, the teaching, the relationship with the anointing, the power and the presence of God. I learned more in the local church.
Definitely. And I think that's through
And again,
people.
good, bad and ugly.
Indeed, absolutely, because people are not in church because they're perfect and they know exactly. We're here to learn. The Bible's a book of instruction, and it gives us instruction on how to live our lives or how not to live our lives. And you're going to brush up against people who are on that journey as well. And you're still going to get a bit of the good, the bad and the ugly as people are having their own lives change from the inside out. And that's the thing. It's always staying open to the fact that you've never got it all together all the time. There's always something to learn. And we all need God's grace. We all need the love of God. And we need to be around great people as well. Absolutely. And forgive people. Very important. Because then we keep a soft heart and we're able to love people, even when they're unlovely at times. It's not always easy to do that, but we need to die to self sometimes and make that decision and say, Lord, I'm going to do what you've asked me to do, and I'm going to forgive people, and you're going to help to change me from the inside out. Very important.
Wonderful. So Church Alive is worth the drive. Sundays, 10 a.m. for breakfast, 11 a.m. for word, worship and wonders. And 31st of March, the Ukraine, the UK, Integrate Night. Great band on, free food, free drinks, free giveaways, food hampers, phone cards. It's going to be great. If you want to learn more about business, cutting edge, do you want to lift it up, Jill?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm going to do the promo for that. That'll help you about getting your cutting edge, staying sharp, innovation, all kinds of great things, creativity, pioneering. You can get it on Amazon. And here's the promo for it. Love you. See you soon. Ciao.